Hello, 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 and welcome to my podcast, Life with Jode, where we talk about anything and everything.
When I realized I was botched, it was almost like I felt like everything was a lie, like because I was living in denial.
On today's episode, we are talking to Leah, a girl from the bariatric community who has undergone weight loss surgery and also plastics. Unfortunately, Leah underwent plastic surgery last year and it didn't go to plan. So she is here today to talk to us about what happened and what we can do to prevent this from happening to ourselves. So please welcome Leah.
This is so cringe, but my sister got it for me for Christmas, and she's like, "You can use it on the podcast." I'm like, "But it looks so obnoxious." But I've not bought it for
I
myself.
am in love. I love it. I love it. You've got to advertise and
Brands, got a brand.
exactly. What better way to do it? I am joined today with Leah. If you would like to introduce yourself.
So, hi, I'm Leah, also known as Sleeved and Relieved on Instagram. And in May 2023, I had a gastric sleeve because I reached 350 pounds. The way I got to that weight is a mixture of emotional eating, and I had binge eating disorder, and then throw in a bit of postnatal depression after pregnancy. And that is how I got to the weight I did. So, weight is something I've struggled with my whole life. Like, I was always known as the bigger girl in school. Like, I wasn't actually big looking back now, but compared to some other girls my age, I was more curvy, like developed faster. Like, I had boobs before other people, and I had curves, but I wasn't big until the end of high school. And then because I like fell out with these girls, they bullied me, and then they would use like, oh, look at her in a skirt. Like, I wouldn't wear a skirt if I had legs like that. And at that point, then I thought I was fat. But when I look back at pictures of me at that weight now, I'm like, I was like 10 stone or like 9 stone, and I wasn't fat at all. But kids are just awful, aren't they? They'll literally anything that they can pick on you for. If they don't like you, that's it. It doesn't matter like what you look like, they're gonna pick on you, and it's just awful. And that's why like I'm gonna teach my daughter from a very young age the effects of bullying and what it can do. So I never want her to be bullied or be the bully. And then food was never really like healthy for me because my mum, quite open about it, she was emotionally abusive and narcissistic. And because she had her own demons and battles, she never cooked me meals or anything. So she would just literally buy junk food. And that was my meal. Like, I would literally, she'd send me to the shop and I'd come home with crisp chocolate and stuff. And that is what I would live off. And because she emotionally ate, I learnt that her patterns as well then. So when I was sad, I would lean to food. I'd also use food as a reward. So if I did something great, I'd be like, oh, yeah, I deserve a treat. So food just basically become my center. So like it become a reward, it become a coping mechanism, and it just become my life basically. I would always have it on the brain. Like I'd constantly be thinking like, what am I going to eat next? And my weight would go up and down continuously. Um, I got to like 20 stone as my biggest before I had weight loss surgery, and then I lost like 7 stone, met my partner, and then I maintained for about a year of our relationship, and then it would slowly creep back on a little bit, if that makes sense, but never to an extent of what it did after having my daughter. That was when it all sort of went out the window because just before I had my daughter, I cut my mum out my life because I realized that she was emotionally abusive and that she wasn't good for me. But
Yeah.
I think going through pregnancy then without a mum and no other family in the same city as me, I think that is what contributed to my postnatal depression. And all I knew from childhood is food. So I would literally just eat and eat and eat. And I'd eat in secret. I'd order takeaways when my partner was at work and stuff like the evidence, like to the bottom of the bin. Um, I would literally have like one day I had this massive pizza, curly fries, and then ate like 6 pancakes straight after for pudding. Like there was just no there was no restriction whatsoever. So when I got to that weight, then I was like, I saw weight loss surgery was a trend on TikTok. I saw all these girls going abroad and having like gastric sleeves, gastric bypass, but I didn't know what it was years ago. I probably would have had this done a lot sooner had I realized, but I actually only found out about it maybe 6 months or a year before I actually went and had the surgery myself. But I made sure I did like a lot of research on the surgery, and like I'm a proper like paranoid person, so I'd be like, oh, will it reduce my life expectancy if I have gastric surgery? Like, does it increase my risk of stomach cancers? I'm a hypochondriac, so I was searching all of this stuff. And then I came to realize that as long as the procedure goes swimmingly, it's actually going to increase your life, because being obese is going to shorten your life more than that surgery would, as long as it goes well, obviously. And it is a low risk procedure. Obviously, you do hear horror stories and things can go wrong in any surgery. But to me, I think the pros outweighed the cons. Because when I was 350 pounds, like I couldn't get on the floor and play with my daughter. Like after a 12-hour shift at work, my feet were in the worst pain, like all my joints. I felt like I was 90 years old because all that weight on my joints, I was just constantly in pain. So I knew I needed to do something, and I tried every diet in the book, and none of it was working. And when you've got that emotional aspect of I need to eat, like no matter what diet you do, something's going to happen and break it, and then you go straight back to the emotional and binge eating. What a lot of people don't realize, like keyboard warriors saying it's a quick fix and all of this, they don't realize the challenges that we face behind it. Like all it takes is one thing to go wrong in our life, and then I still reach for food now. Like when I'm sad, I do find myself reaching for food again. Obviously I can't eat as much as I did before, but I notice my patterns are
Yeah.
returning every now and again. I'm like, whoa, Leah, stop, you need to do something else. But it's about being aware of it, isn't it? But it's not easy at all. Like I hate it when people say, oh, you took the easy way out. And that's probably someone like that's lives in their mum's basement on their computer. So yeah, I booked my sleeve and had that in May, and then I've lost 11 stone in total. And then obviously July this year, I returned to the same company for plastic surgery. So the company I went to for my gastric sleeve was Prime Health Concept. I actually found them through an influencer called Jenna. So she went to them for plastic surgery, but she had her sleeve with someone else. It just looked amazing. And on their YouTube, they had videos explaining about themselves, like, oh, we put our patients' safety first, like we will never put any of you at risk, we treat our patients like family. So the way they come across was all green flags to me.
Mm. Yeah,
um
definitely.
and the fact the owner was also half English, I was like, oh, like that's reassuring. Like she's really fluent. She grew up in England. So I was like, this feels like I'm basically going to an English company, just cheaper and abroad,
Yeah.
if that made sense. So I felt really certain with that company, and my sleeve did go well. Like I can't, no matter how much I dislike the company now, I know what I know. I can't lie and say that my sleeve wasn't great because it went well, but I do know for others it hasn't with this company. How they've handled the whole situation with me, it's like them as a company, I do not trust them, and they just care about money. And I did really, really like love the owner of the company. We built what I thought was a strong relationship. She was like, I see you as family. It was like, I love you. um like we keep in constant touch. So constantly after my sleeve, we'd always keep in touch, and she'd be like, oh, I'm so proud of you, you're doing so well. So like it did seem like we were friends, if that makes sense. Like, but later found out she does that with pretty much all her patients. So it's like that fake persona fit sort of thing, like to get that trust in. But the way I saw it is, I didn't think she'd ever put me at risk because I thought we had like a really strong relationship. So I did make a mistake by going there for plastics, because I shouldn't have gone there just because I got on with the owner so well. I should have sat down and fully researched my surgeon alone and not about a company. Like,
Mm.
for
Yeah.
example, a lot of people go to booking surgery not because of booking surgery, but because of the surgeons like Dr. Yeltsin, and like people go to them just because of the surgeons, and that's what it should be. It shouldn't be about the company. Like, your life is in their hands and you're on the table. Like, I was on the table like 8 hours plus, and then they actually did the exact same procedure I had on someone else straight after me. So that's over 16 hours in theatre. Like, things like that, I really wish I had fully researched beforehand, but you can't go back now. And I have no regrets either, because the way I see it is I'm alive and I've spoken out about it. Like, it happened to the right person, because a lot of people don't speak up about it and they keep it to themselves because they feel threatened, or they just don't want the aggro,
A lot
or
of people wouldn't do it because of the judgment, and then also probably wouldn't be able to handle mentally the judgment that they
yeah,
receive. It,
yeah,
it takes a strong person to be able to come out about what's happened and be so
yeah. And like,
like see through about it all, and
yeah.
also handle the good and the bad that comes with it.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I own my mistakes as well, because I was repping that company after my sleeve, because obviously I had a great experience. I had nothing bad to say about them. So I was constantly like, oh, I recommend them. They're the best company ever. They've changed my life. Realistically, they performed a procedure I paid them to do. It was me that changed my life. Like, they may be the ones that performed my gastric sleeve, but it was me that made the decision. It was me that paid for that surgery, and I took the leap of faith and I did all the work afterwards. Whenever I put a post up, like a before and after, I'd say, this is all thanks to Prime Health Concept. So, like, some people probably did book because of me, and I'm completely transparent. I had £715 worth of referrals deducted from my plastic surgery. So, for people that went there because of me, thankfully, none of my referrals had anything go wrong with them. And then anyone that potentially was going to go because of me cancelled after my plastic surgery. People are going to have opinions. And like, some people said, like, oh, she only cared about money, and she was still recommending them for up to 8 weeks after her plastic surgery. But the thing is, like I said before, I didn't actually get any money after my plastic surgery. So the only money I ever made from them was that money in referrals, which was deducted off my surgery.
Hmm.
Um, but then after that, from that point over, I've not made a penny, and I wouldn't have wanted it anyway. Like, so they offered me a job then, doing basically like patient coordinating and being an online rep for them. So that job entailed of, I only did it for 3 weeks, and this was still while I was healing. I should have explained how I got to that actually. So I don't know if you saw, I had like a seroma. I don't know if you were following me before or not, like when I had a seroma and flew back out or not.
I don't think I was now.
No. So back then, I think I was like 2 weeks, less than a week after I got home, I started developing a seroma in my stomach. So that's like a massive fluid buildup. And I went back and forth to A&E about it because I was getting scared that it was going to rupture. And they didn't want to touch it. They didn't have any plastic surgeons or anything like that. So Prime Health Concept flew me back out. And that gave me an amazing impression on them, because I was like,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I was like, the NHS haven't helped me. I understand to an extent because they don't know what to do, but Prime Health Concept flew me back out, and basically they said they would drain the seroma, but what actually happened was so where the seroma had built up pressure, it ruptured on my hip. I can show you where the scar is actually. Right there. It's like the biggest part of my scar,
Mm.
because that's where it ruptured. And it was just constantly leaking, and I had a massive hole then. So the surgeon actually saw me in an office. So I thought I'd be going to the hospital. But when I got there, it was like a clinic room, a bit like, I don't know if you've ever had anything like lip filler, or it just looked like a clinic, like a
Yeah.
salon that you'd go to. Um, when I look back at the photos and stuff now, because I'm really grateful I asked for photos and videos of everything throughout my journey, because I've got evidence, but it wasn't the cleanest when I look back at the pictures now. And he didn't even, he had like chinos on and a t-shirt just like sewing me up. So he put some anesthetic in my leg, like local, and then was like pushing all this fat necrosis out. So that's dead flesh, pushing all of that out, and then like pumping it in with pumping in some like saline solution to clean it, and then he sort of sewed me up, but not fully, to allow the water to still drain and everything. But at that point, I was like, I'm being helped, like they're doing something about it, they're actually helping me. Like I was like, this is amazing, because they paid for my flights to go back out there, I didn't have to pay for that. So in my eyes, I still believe they were the best company, because I didn't notice the way that my scars looked then. I still had scar tape on, I was still in tight compression, so my main focus at that point of time was healing my seroma and getting that sorted. And that was a big focus of mine up until it healed. And it wasn't until like, I think it was week 8 where it fully healed that hole on my hip. And then it was after 8 weeks, I could come out of compression a bit longer. So they held a party in Rugby, which was basically about 30 to 40 people. They had the bariatric surgeon there giving talks and stuff. What a lot of people may question is, if I was working for them, how did I not know about the botch patients sooner? But I actually wasn't given any personal information on any patients. Like, all I had access to was their social media, and I saw nothing bad on there. After the Prime Health concert party, that was my first weekend out of my compression, and I did actually point out to the owner when I was there about my arms, and she's like, yeah, you'll definitely like need some revision on that. That's quite normal. Like, arms are the biggest thing that need revision. But at that point, we were more noticing like the fact that I had like these bumps here of skin. I didn't actually notice how loose my arms were, because swelling, like, it
Yeah.
makes it tighter. But then a few days passed and I'd been out of my compression a bit longer, and I was like, Dan noticed my hip. He's like, Leah, your one hip's like a lot bigger than the other. So I got him to take pictures for me, like from all different angles, and I was like, fuck, like that isn't even like bone structure or anything, because I can literally grab like a massive ball like of fat on the one hip, and then there's literally nothing on the other side. So people may think it come out of nowhere, like me saying I'm not happy with my results, but behind the scenes, I was actually communicating with Rianne for a good week of like, I was like, look, I am so sorry. Because at this point, I didn't know anyone else was botched. So I thought I was kicking up a fuss,
Mm.
overthinking. I was like, I'm so sorry, but I've noticed all these flaws in my surgery and I'm not happy and I don't know what to do. I was like, I feel really guilty for even not being happy with my results, but I need to be honest. I was like, one thing I've always been on my Instagram is honest, and I like need to express that to you. And she was like, let me send the photos to the surgeon and I'll get back to you on what he says. And then it was like back and forth communication. She was like, look, if I generally think he's done something wrong, I will get another surgeon for you. Meaning they don't have another surgeon, but she means that she would pay like a complete outsider to fix it. So again, at this point, I wasn't speaking out because I was giving her the chance to sort it, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. She's like, but I need to speak to the surgeon first because I need his medical standpoint. So she spoke to the surgeon and said he basically come back and said he did absolutely nothing wrong. If he took any more skin than he did, I would have opened up. And yeah, so he basically said he took less skin to protect me from opening up. I was drawn up for an FDL because I have like a lot of loose skin up here. He said I woke up, didn't have it, and he said I didn't have enough skin for it. But then, come to it, I trusted him at the time because you listen to your surgeon. I'm like, well, that's great if I don't have the middle scar. Like, if I don't have enough skin, then I didn't need it. And obviously, when you're swollen, you can't really tell. And like, but now I look back at photos, I can see like my hips were different shapes, but they were telling me it was just swelling. So I just believed them at the time because I've never had this kind of surgery before.
Mm.
And swelling does, I've seen like pictures of people's post-op swelling. It can be horrendous. So I just thought, yeah, it must be swelling. Um, but it wasn't. I've had multiple surgeons reach out to me and confirm that it was a botched job. I was actually meant to have revision in April. I'm not mentally ready, but I'm still sticking with the surgeon that I've chosen because I fully researched him. He reached out to me confirming like this is awful. and he got me to send him photos and advised on what he could do. And I was really nervous actually to tell him that I'm not ready, because what I've been used to with communicating with some companies in Turkey is like price threats, like, oh, if you don't book now, like the price will go up.
Price is
Like,
going to go up. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I was just nervous to like see what their response was. But they were like, Leah, it's fine. Like, you need to be ready. It's a massive thing. And say we can push it back, because I didn't want to give a date either. I was like, if I choose a date, what if I'm not ready that by then? I don't want to mess you about. And they said, look, I think it's best if you do choose a date, because then you can prepare yourself. You can take your vitamins, you can get your health in the best place before, if you have a date in mind. But say you come to that date and you're still not ready, we can push it back again. And the price isn't going to change. That's fine. And like instantly, I just had this massive sense of relief, because I was
Yeah.
like, I've made the right choice. Like, it just felt right. And like, I've spoken to loads of the past patients this time round, and I know they have an amazing revision policy. And the only time they've needed to do revisions is for healing issues, not for botched jobs. Like, it's just because someone hasn't healed right, or they've developed a seroma and it's loosened the skin a bit and stuff like that. So I'm fully confident this time around. When I realized I was botched, it was almost like I felt like everything was a lie, like, because I was living in denial almost, like, and then all these red flags. I don't know if you saw the video of me on the operating table with the lady and the cardigan and the watch and all of that.
And the no
Like,
PPE at all.
yeah.
It was
And they even admit to that in the statement, and they're like, we were unaware of it, but they had their staff filming my whole procedure. So they are, and they even have videos on their own social media platform from ages ago of other people in theatre. And I found videos of people in the cardigans and stuff, and I'm like, you're full of shit. And people were messaging me then saying, actually, this company did such and such to me, and I had so many people coming forward to me about them then. I was like, for fuck's sake. I was like, and it was things that had happened like a year ago or 2 years ago. And that is why I think it's so important to be honest. If you don't like your results, like, be honest about it.
well. Just wanted to go over, obviously. So you've been through this. You had a really good experience at first that turned into an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
With the support you've had from your partner and your family members, the bariatric community, can you kind of like go into that a little bit?
So when I did share what happened, I had 90% positivity from the people in the bariatric community. Like, everyone sort of come together, helped share it to their stories and got the word out. Everyone was tagging Prime Health Concept, but they were getting blocked. So everyone that sort of supported me, which was a lot, have now been blocked by Prime Health Concept. And to me, that just screams guilty. Like, if you've got nothing to hide, you wouldn't bother blocking, but they were deleting comments, like everything like that. But my one friend, Kat, she actually started a GoFundMe, bless her, without me knowing, because I've never asked for anything, but she managed to raise, I think, £500, which paid my deposit for my new surgeon. So that was like a massive weight off my shoulders, because obviously I lost some money to my plastic surgery, and it took me a very long time to save up for it, because I'm a healthcare assistant. I've got a toddler, like, I had to do a lot of overtime at work. It was just a lot, like, and it's a lot to save up for again. I did get some negativity, like, some people were angry because they worked out who my new surgeon was, and it was their surgeon, and they were assuming it was either free or heavily discounted, because my friend Kat put the total target as 2,000, but she did state in there it's a saving pot towards the surgery, not the total amount. But I think they just put two and two together, and they were like, this isn't fair, like, we've paid full price, like, just assuming things
Yeah,
basically. One thing I will do is tell everyone, do your own research. Don't go to someone just because I have. Like, that is,
100%.
there's not one right surgeon for everyone. Like, there's different styles of surgery, and it's such a massive thing. It's literally your life. So people need to do their own individual research and not be so heavily influenced and book just because someone else went.
I was about to say this brings me back to what I was saying about Abby gave me the information and
But she
instead of,
told you to do your own
yeah,
research.
of
Yeah.
my own research, which is what I wanted to do anyway. I just wanted to kind
Yeah.
of like get my foot in the door, but I also didn't want to go to that surgeon just in case something happened to me, and
She would
then
feel bad about it.
exactly, I didn't want if that was to
Yeah.
happen for it to then cause an issue with a
Yeah.
friendship that I've got going. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
you always do
100%.
your research. Always do your research.
And that is another thing that weighs on me heavily. Like, that's why I've been so outspoken about what happened, is because I could not have that on me if anyone goes there and something goes wrong. And I just couldn't have that weight on me. So, luckily, anyone that did go via my referral, they've been okay. Like, even now, when I have my revision, and if it goes amazing, I'm not going to say absolutely go and book with that person. Like, you need to do your own research.
Yeah,
Like we said, not one person is right for everyone. Um,
exactly.
but I have found a lot of great friendships, because people come together and supported me. And like, I do think our community, it can have bitchiness, but so can every community. Like, and I think put a bunch of girls in a room, come on, we're all bitchy, like everybody bitches. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, any community is going to have bitchiness, but I find that our community has so much more love and support than it has bad. And it's about finding the right people. And I've found so many people like myself with ADHD. There's a lot of people that have eating disorders or are overweight. It's because they're lacking dopamine because of ADHD. So actually, a lot of people in our community are neurospicy. So I've met like a lot of like-minded people, and yeah, like I am really happy to be a part of the community, and sharing what happened and the support I had is what inspired me to start the podcast, because I wanted to give other people a voice. And it doesn't have to be they had a horror story, it could be anything, like an amazing story changing your life, like at any age. Like, just if you've got a story to share, like I want to give other people a voice.
It was definitely something I wanted to touch on.
Yeah,
Obviously, your experience with unfortunately what's happened to you. Because I also am trying to get a guy's perspective of it as well.
yeah,
Um, I'm trying to get a guy that's had weight loss surgery so that we can get his perspective on it. Because obviously, I want to touch every basis going that I
yeah.
can.
Yeah, same with me. Like, I feel like I love research, and I think this is the best kind, like speaking to people and hearing real experiences. Because when I read things online, I don't always take it in, but actually listening to someone and hearing their individual stories, that's how I relate, and like I take it in better. So that's why I think like podcasts are amazing. Like, you can find out so much and just hearing real stories. So yeah. Thank you for having me on
Yes.
your podcast as well.
Don't worry about it anytime, and thank you for having me on yours.
And this time it's actually recorded. Can you imagine
Fingers
if it
crossed.
didn't? 2 hours.
2
Fucking
hours
hell.
of recording for the both of us and it just not be there, I'd probably cry.
I'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your
Yeah,
day.
you too. It was always chatting to you again. See
Lovely chatting to you as well. Bye.
you later.
I just want to finish off by saying a massive thank you to Leah for coming on and chatting about her experiences. If you want to share your experiences with the community, please don't hesitate to get in touch. This can be via email to lifewithjode@gmail.com, or you can on my Instagram, which is at Jode's Gastric Bypass. You can listen to my podcast on Podbean, Apple Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And that's a wrap from me. I will speak to you next time on another episode of Life with Jode.